Vanguard in the building, and you know I'm finna kill it, and you know I'm kinda crazy. That's all I've been thinking lately.
What it do? It's Jake from Straight to the Point, and we straight to the streets. Today in our Spotlight segment, we're gonna sit down with a very talented young woman who wears many hats. From a businesswoman, to a stylist, to a poet, to a musician. We have the pleasure today of sitting here with the wonderful Miss LEX Vanguard. How you doing, Lex?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for coming on Straight to the Point.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get into our first question. Where did your passion in music come from? How did it develop? Talk a little bit about where that came from.
Well, my passion for music developed when I was really young. It started out with poetry. I was a poet before anything, and that was my outlet for how I expressed myself. If I was feeling anything really strong, whether it was really, really good or really, really bad, I would put it down on paper because I was better with words on paper than actually speaking my thoughts. So from poetry, I got into music when I started listening to Brandy and Destiny's Child. Those were the first two CDs that I bought. And after that, going into middle school, when I heard Ludacris for the first time, when I heard Word of Mouth, like that was
good.
That was my favorite album.
That was a good album.
And that's when I knew I wanted to be a rapper.
Okay, so you just touched a little bit on your background. Was there a pivotal moment that kind of like pushed you into it, or was it just that you always had that burning desire?
I always had the burning desire. It was kind of that sort of thing. Like growing up, I knew I wanted to do music, but I wasn't that confident in it yet. So I didn't really put it out there that much. People I was really close to knew that I wanted to do music, but I didn't put it out there to the public. So I would just write, like whenever I felt something, I would write it down. And I would practice and make sure that I was developing my craft so that when I did display it to the world, it would look good. Like, I didn't want to put out something that wasn't going to be amazing. So a lot of that hibernation was me trying to prepare myself, because once I put myself out there as an artist, then I'm going to be judged as an artist. And I didn't want people judging me if I wasn't ready.
You got to put out the best product,
right.
The exact best product. So the name LEX Vanguard, talk to us a little bit about how you came up with it. Where did that come from?
Well, you want the long or the short version?
Hey, we straight to it. So,
okay.
Give us what you got.
The long version is that I was in the studio recording solo for the first time, and I was talking to the engineer. He was getting ready to save the song, and he said, "What's your name?" I said, "Lamona Lexus." That's what it was at the time, and I just grabbed that from a movie. And he was like, "It's okay, but it sounds conceited." And I was like, okay. So from there, not that his opinion meant everything, but I said if that's one perception, it could be a few perceptions, and I didn't want anything that would be anything close to that as my image. So I went back and I thought of something meaningful. I studied fashion. I have a bachelor's in fashion. So I looked up, I was playing around with words. I thought of avant-garde, which in fashion means like really forward, fashion forward, trendsetting, like something that's extremely creative and outside of the box. So from there, the word vanguard was like the noun form of that. It's the person that's on the forefront of new trends and ideas, not scared to put themselves out there, and just kind of lead the way for everyone else.
Okay.
And I use that as the last name. Lex comes from my first name, which is Alexis.
So you said you always had a love and passion for music. Talk to us a little bit about where that love and passion, where that love for music comes from.
I think the love for music comes from my emotions. Like, I connect with music.
Let it out.
Yeah. It's an art form. It's a form, I believe art is a form of self-expression for anybody, no matter what kind of art it is. So music for me is a form of self-expression to the artist, but for me it's a way to connect with that artist. Like maybe whatever story they're telling is my story as well. So it's just something that I can relate to, and listening to a different song puts me in a different place.
So you just touched on it a little bit, but as a whole, art, music, poetry, how important is self-expression? So a lot of times you hear people talk about how they don't feel like the music is lyrical or the music is what it used to be or what it can be, but maybe it's self-expression.
Right.
How important do you think self-expression is when it comes to music?
I think self-expression is extremely important because, again, I feel that art is self-expression. Different forms of art are how you express yourself. Everybody can't express themselves verbally in the best way. So with that, I feel like right now, during this time in music, especially in hip-hop, we have two different types of artists. You have artists that are more lyrical, like myself. I think of myself that way, as more lyrical, which means a lot of the creation that I do has to do with the arrangement of the lyrics and the word choice and the metaphors and the this and that. And the other type of artist is somebody who expresses themselves more with sound. And that's putting a lot more of the effort into the beat or the expressions that you make on the track outside of the words. I was watching an interview with Young Thug, I think when he did Breakfast Club. And he was talking about how that's what inspires him, is the way he feels when he goes into the studio. And if he feels a certain thing and it's not expressed as a word, but it's a sound, then that's the sound he makes on the track. And I thought that that was really cool and creative. It's a different perspective than the one that I have, but I respect it because I think that's still expression and it's still art.
He's definitely one of those artists when people say, you know, rap, when they relate the non-lyrical rap to the stuff, he's definitely one of those artists whose names come up, but as you said, self-expression is a big part of the music. So Lex, you do a lot, spoken word, poetry, music. They all sound similar to some people, but they are in their own way different.
Right.
To you, do you find them at all to be similar in any ways? If so, what ways?
I think that they're definitely similar. They're similar in a lot of ways in that they're all forms of expression. First, to me, poetry is what you write. Like, it's the lyrics that you create, the words that you arrange. And spoken word is like the performance of that. Like, not every poet does spoken word. And not every spoken word artist writes poetry. Some of it is off the top. But they're similar. Those are extremely similar. They're just two different sides of the same thing.
Performance-wise, performance-wise, which is easier for you to do, poetry or
spoken word?
Spoken word.
Poetry, yeah, is easier than music because I don't know. I think because poetry, I feel like is me. Like, that's a big part of what defines me to me. So it's easy for me to get up there and tell my story. I'm not trying to keep up with a beat. Like, I'm not trying to please a crowd. I'm just saying what I wrote. Versus music, I'm thinking about so many different things. I'm thinking about how I'm presenting myself to the audience. I'm thinking about keeping up with the beat. I'm thinking about if my voice is sounding right, if I forget some lyrics, like all types of things. It just makes me a lot more nervous.
Yeah. So, you just said, spoke on being nervous a little bit. You kind of knew this.
Yeah.
Just starting, right?
Right.
Right. So, but you've been writing music and been having a love and passion for it like your whole life.
Yeah.
So, if anything, what has turned you off to the music industry, or and turned you off in a sense to pursuing a music career, if anything?
Well, one of the things that's turned me off so far to pursuing a music career is the people that I've worked with. Not them specifically, but just the lessons that I've learned in working with people from the industry, that you have to go in knowing exactly what you want, and you have to set that standard and know what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept. You have to know who you're working with, do research on these people, and don't always assume that people who carry a name or people who like own official studios are gonna produce better work or give you a better experience than somebody who's kind of working out of their home or still trying to build themselves, because that's not always true. So you just have to kind of look out for who you're working with. Like, just keep your eyes open.
That's good advice. That's good advice. So what do you think would discourage somebody such as yourself that's just beginning to start pursuing a career in music? What do you think are some things that maybe you experienced that would discourage them or try to make them, second guess their journey into a music career in music?
I would say, I mean, it's so many different things that can discourage a person. I would just say don't get discouraged. Like if it's something you really, really want to do it anyway. Do it regardless. Yeah, stay strong. You gotta be strong because it's not an industry for the weak. And I think that, like I said before, set a standard. Like set a standard for people that you work with to meet, just like they have a standard for you. But it's very, very important to go in knowing what you want already. Because once you get there, it's easy for you to be swayed. Like somebody could talk you into one thing or another if you don't go in already strong with what you think. So you have to go in knowing exactly what you want out of the situation, exactly how much you're trying to pay, exactly what you want for that price, instead of letting somebody talk you into something different.
So it sounds like it takes a lot of research.
A lot of research.
And trusting your instincts.
Trusting your
Does it work for you so far?
It has worked like not 100% of the time. No, I can't say that. Nothing works 100% of the time, but it's still important to have a plan. And you learn from that. Like when it doesn't work, you find something in that to take from it and use the next time so that you have a better experience.
Yeah, because it's ultimately a process. So right. The more bumps you hit, the more lessons you learn, but yeah, it's ultimately a process.
That's true.
So Lex, you're currently going through a transition, right? From corporate America, the business world corporate business world to the music industry.
Right.
So do you see anything that you learned in the corporate world that you can transition over to the music world?
I have, yes. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in the corporate world, or just working in general, has been customer service. And I've worked mostly in customer service, so I learned a lot. And I'm in grad school. I study public relations, so I'm learning a lot about. I'm learning a lot about connections with people, networking with people, building relationships with people, and that's really important. Like no matter what industry you're in. So that's definitely something I could use in music, because no matter where you go, you have to know how to find the people that you need to be around. And you have to know how to connect with those people, introduce yourselves to those people without being offensive and all those kinds of things, and maintain that relationship. It's one thing to introduce yourself to a person, but months, years down the line, are they still going to know who you are?
You gotta make an impression. Right. That's key. Gotta be impressionable.
Exactly.
So Lex, you spoke earlier, and I'm pretty sure that people can tell by your appearance that you had a background in fashion, right? So, for you personally, and maybe for other artists, how big of a role do you think fashion style plays into it? How big of a role is that as it relates to being the whole package of a performing artist?
Package, that's a good word. That's important. Because talent is not the only thing that's going to get you there, unfortunately. It's not, it doesn't rely on talent. And I was just watching a movie yesterday when I was at work. Don't ask why I was watching a movie at work. But
sometimes we all watch movies at work.
In the movie, it said that your character determines your fate, not your talent. And I thought that was really important because that's true. So one of the things that fashion has taught me the most is that presentation is everything. And that's something I thought before, is why I was so into fashion, but I think it's everything. And not just because the way you look is everything, but because people judge you on your perception, like the way they perceive you. They judge you on what they see, unfortunately. So you gotta make who you are and what they see match, like they have to sync. So I think that's what I've learned from fashion that can help me in music and in life in general, is that put your best foot forward. I mean, you could present, and there's companies out here that do it, present like the crappiest product in the best way, and people buy into it because of the way they presented it. Like, presentation means
that happens a lot.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
At Christmas, when you do that like secret gifting and they wrap something and put it, and you gotta pick one, people always go for the one that's the best wrap or the biggest one.
And you open it, it's like toothpaste or
exactly.
some deodorant.
It's the presentation.
Presentation that counts. So we're here in the DMV area. For those that you all that may not know, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. There have been a lot of things said about the music industry in this area. A lot of things. And most of them have not been too good. So far, to this point in your very early music career, how supportive has the DMV area been? And what are some things that you feel like can change or should change in order for this area to thrive musically?
Well, I could talk about that for days. But the first thing I can say is that there are people who are very supportive. It's a select few, but there are people who are very supportive in the DMV area. I can say that for my first performance, they were extremely supportive. And maybe I just had a good crowd that night, I don't know. But they were really, really supportive to me, and that made me feel comfortable for my very first performance. There are artists that I've met that I've noticed out of the DMV area, like Knox and Pinky Killicorn, Visto, and Root Rat. And those are people that I follow, like on my personal social media, that I'm a personal fan of. So I try to show support in that same way.
Yeah.
And from certain
Show
people,
love and exchange.
right? And for certain people, it's reciprocated. But as a whole, I don't feel like the DMV is that supportive. I don't feel like we back each other up enough. I feel like that's why we don't ever get anywhere. That's why we're not strong on the music scene, because we're not helping each other get to that point. You got artists coming out of other cities that their city rep them hard. Like still to this day, they don't even live there no more, but their city still claim them and stuff like that. And we got people straight out of DC like, oh, I don't mess with Wale. Oh, I don't mess with this person. I don't mess with that person. And it's like, you're not gonna like everything that comes out of here, but you still support it to some degree just so we can get on the map.
Yeah, it takes everybody.
Right.
So collectively, it's a lot of talent here, but it's always, a lot of people talk about how it's a crab in the barrel mentality, how a lot of people feel like they can't help somebody out because that'll hesitate their rise to the top. But it's definitely something that, has to be addressed. But it might also be more of a culture thing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a culture thing, unfortunately. But I think just our history has brought us to this point. They have us believing that only a certain amount of people can make it, and that's simply not true. Like anybody can make it. It's no quota on how many people can be successful, but we think that only one person can be at the top, or a handful of people can be successful, and that's not true.
It definitely ain't. You look at Wu-Tang, all of them got to the top. They might have hit the bottom, but they all got to the top. All right, so what has been your biggest challenge up to this point? Now I know it's kind of early, but we went to one of your shows and we seen some of your work. We not just telling y'all this. Y'all need to check this girl out. She's very, very, very talented.
Thank you.
But you kind of came within the few time periods, because you started doing this when?
I started recording in April of 2016.
So you started a few months ago.
Right.
And to get to this point, where you're actually finding shows and performing, marketing yourself, and you have work and projects you're working on, what has been your biggest challenge up to this point?
I think my biggest challenge up to this point with music and with my life in general is not worrying so much about what people think.
Yeah.
And I never even thought that was going to be an issue of mine, because I've always been the type of person that was just my own person. Like, I really never cared too much about what my peers thought. But when it comes to music, I care a lot, and that's because I'm trying to sell something. So it kind of matters what people think. But more importantly, my family. Like, sometimes when I consider the image I have or the image I want to have, I think, like when I'm writing to myself, oh my God, is this something that like I want my mom to hear? Or is this something that my aunt gonna be ashamed when she sees? Like, but at the same time, I don't want to compromise who I am as an artist just so people won't be shocked and appalled. So that's been a battle.
Well, you definitely got to take into account what mom thinks.
Yeah.
So has your family to this point
degree
been like very supportive? Do they support you?
Yes, they surprise me with their support. They're more supportive than I ever thought they would be. And they're there for anything. Like anything I want them to come to, any event, they will be there. They spread the word around if something comes out, something new that I release. So they're always there as much as they can be.
That's good. So Lex, you talked about spoken word poetry and performing. The question I have is, before I go into the next question, is stage presence. How big of a thing is that for you? And did it help you when you started performing music that you have already been doing spoken word?
Stage presence is obviously really, really important because the crowd can feel you. Like they can sense whatever energy that you're bringing. So if you're not present up there, people aren't going to connect with you the way that you want them to. So that's really, really important to have little tips and tricks on how to like make sure that I'm connecting with the audience and make sure that they're staying connected with me. Because people have short attention spans too.
We sure do.
And the way you present yourself when you're up there, because anything you do up there, you can't take back. Like it's just out there. So yeah, you gotta make sure that you know what you're doing.
So are you like nervous? Is it harder? Because a lot of times, like you go out of town, and even here in the city, you go to shows and you see artists who have big internet followers, but they might be performing in front of a crowd, 10, 15, 5, or 20. Is it something extra? Like what's something that's helped you still perform at your top, at your best, when you're performing in some of those crowds that might not be as engaging? How do you draw them in?
Well, for a crowd, regardless of what crowd you're performing, whether it's 5 people or 5,000 people, like you still give your everything because you still making an impression on those people. Like even if it's 5 people, that's another 5 people you reeling in.
Yeah. So, have you ever thought about acting? Because you do a lot of performing. Like that covers a wide range of things that you do. Have you ever yourself thought about pursuing a career in acting?
I have. When I went to a technology high school, I studied TV and video. And there, when I got there, I wanted to do acting. I wanted to go to the performing arts high school, but I missed the deadline, so I ended up at that tech place. And I loved it though. Shout out to McKinley. First class, 07.
07, man. 07.
But that's when I knew I wanted to act. So I was in theater. I did theater for 3 years. I was in this group and we had to sing, dance, and act. And we did all the school plays. Like I was in all the school plays. So I did acting back then and I knew that I wanted to keep doing it. But it wasn't as easy to find opportunities in this area. So I switched to music and said that I would use that as a platform.
So was acting a passion like how music and poetry was? Or it was just, it was?
Yeah, and sometimes I actually try choosing between the 3 just so that I can have a more sharp focus on one thing, but I can't. Like I like all of them. I like poetry. I feel like that's like my soul, and like music is my spirit, and acting is my mind, I guess. Like they all make up a different part.
Yeah. Of Alexis.
Right.
All right, so this the big one. Top 5, dead or alive. What you got?
The pressure. Oh my God. There are no right or wrong answers.
No right or wrong answer. This is LEX Vanguard's top 5. So give us your top 5 artists, dead or alive.
Top 5. I'm gonna start with 5.
Okay.
I have to put Ludacris in there because he inspired me so much. And whether or not he is one of the best rappers, he's one of my favorite rappers.
Man, Chicken and Bed was he had a lot of classic music though.
The thing I loved most about him was he was creative. Like his creativity, he did something different from anyone else. And I feel like nobody has yet matched his energy. So Ludacris at number 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna put Kendrick Lamar at number 4.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Because I like his lyrical style and I like that he's conscious. I like what he raps about. He tells me a story. I like stories.
Okay.
J. Cole at number 3.
This already a tough top 5. It's already tough.
J. Cole at number 3 because he's the light in my life. Like he's my current. I love J. Cole so much. We have the same birthday.
Oh yeah, what birthday?
January 28th.
January 28th.
Yep.
Hey, look, cold world, man.
Nation.
LEX Vanguard. You know, this is what we do here. Straight to the point. We connect. We connect.
So he's definitely at number 3 because he's my favorite right now.
Okay.
And then in number 2, I had to say number 2 and number 1 for OGs just because,
Hey,
you know.
respect.
Yeah.
The respect.
So number 2, I got Nas because he's somebody else that is a really, really conscious rapper. I like his lyrical style. I like what he brings to the table, what he brought to the table during his time, and I appreciate what he did for hip hop.
Man.
So my number one is somebody that still to this day I admire for their style. To me, style is everything. For his lyricism, for his character, his personality. I like and still watch his interviews all the time because he says things that make me think about who I am as a person and as an artist. So my number 1 is Tupac all day long.
Hey, rest in peace, Tupac. Y'all make sure y'all go check out that new Tupac movie, man. Top 5, you heard that? I think Nas is personally, for me, I think he the GOAT, hands down. Like, for that man, what he did to the music game and where he came from and his rawness, you can listen to any Nas song now and it'll still remind you of yourself growing up. So I think his music definitely transcends time, but that's a tough top 5.
It's tough to create a top 5 because there's so many great artists out there, and there's so many people I know would be in other people's top 5 that I wouldn't put in mine.
Like,
not because I don't respect what they do, but because that's not someone I personally relate to.
Right.
So I put people that I relate to.
There you have it. Top 5 according to Lex Vanguard. So Lex, who are you? Who is Lex Vanguard?
Lex Vanguard is an artist. Lex Vanguard is a poet. Lex Vanguard is all about self-expression and creativity and being exactly who you are. So I just want the mark that I leave on the world to be one that inspires people to be themselves. I want the world to know my story because I think it's interesting or whatever. And
it definitely is, or whatever.
And aside from, that selfish need to want people to know my story, I also want my story to be able to help someone else connect with me and to feel like they're not the only ones. Because a lot of time when we go through things, that's always the thought is that like nobody else will understand or nobody else has been through the same thing. But I've been through a lot of things, so I feel like whatever you've been through, I might have been through. So if I talk about it, it can help you feel like you're not going through it by yourself.
And that's one of the things that may help ultimately to change the culture of DMV music. And in other areas where you don't have people so willing to reach out a hand is if you share your story and experience. You ain't been doing this too long like you told us, but you got passion for it, you got love for it, you work hard, you're a hell of a performer, so you telling your story, maybe somebody will watch this and say, hey, you know what, I'm dealing with the same exact thing. So this is how it starts. This is the beginning.
Thank you.
Once again.
This is just the beginning.
Once again, folks, this is Jake.
Lex Vanguard in the building.
We just got straight to the point and then straight to the streets.
Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2 1.
I'm styling, I'm so stylish, I be styling on these hoes. They wish that I was frowning, I stay smiling on these hoes. They keep trying to push me, I be wildin' on these hoes. Bank account progressing, zeros piling on these hoes, that's why you mad. I'm cranking in my whip the Michael Jackson cause I'm bad. Show you just a smidget of how I'm living, check out my dad. Paparazzi popping up on my people, smile for the cam. It must be Thanksgiving that I'm feeling, I'm going ham. Better hide your boyfriend if I find him, he's my man. I'm a genie in a bottle, babe, your wish is my command. Keep my circle exclusive like a coupe, this ain't no sedan. If she's swinging, I'm swinging, this ain't no friendship, it's a clan. My crew tighter than crew neck sweaters, better listen to me. My flow sicker than liquor, turn your stomach 90 degree. Get the message, respect it like R-E-S-P-E-C-T. This a lesson on how to murder records with Lex and me. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Green light me, let's go. Second verse. I get so many praises, think I'm in church. Just like Rihanna, I put in that work, work, work. You might think I look harmless, but trust me, I'm gonna make it hurt. You could take me to dinner, but take me to the gas first. Got these niggas feeling grateful for dinner with no dessert. I'm a dog and all dogs go to heaven, but I run earth. Get the bone, I play with it, then bury it in the dirt. Flow go crazy, I think that maybe I might be going insane. Might surprise you, still I'll advise you to please stay out my lane. I'm so cold, I got 3 degrees, about to change up the game. So if you might suffer from amnesia, please remember the name Vanguard, LEX Vanguard. This beat so damn hard. I might not be an angel, but I'm a god.